Okay, we're live.
Okay, good evening, folks. Welcome to our second meeting of January. And let's get the show on the road.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach held Tuesday, January 19th, 2021 at 7 p.m. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Delory.
Present.
Councilmember Mandel.
Present.
Councilmember Treston.
Present.
Vice President McGinnis.
Present.
President Bendo.
Present.
Let the record indicate the presence of City Manager Donna Gaydon and Deputy Corporation Counsel Rich Barrios. We'll now have a salute to the flag.
I see a tip of a flag peeking out from behind Mr. McNally's head, so why don't you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So why don't we start with the city manager's report?
Good evening, everyone. The first group that I have on is Margaret and James from CMA. They're going to give an update of where we are. And I think I saw them, they were on. Dave.
Hang on one second.
Okay.
Okay, James, you're unmuted, and Margaret, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead, Donna.
No, go ahead. You can give
Oh,
your.
okay. Well, before James talks about are we going to talk about the policy right now too, that we're reviewing tonight or approving tonight?
Oh,
You
you
want
can
us to
mention it, but if anybody has any questions when we get to the policy, but you can go ahead and mention that as well.
Okay, well, I'm going to give an update as to where we are as far as what we've been doing lately, because you haven't heard anything, and just know that our quarterly report, it will come out on Thursday. It'll be given to Donna on Thursday. We have been working diligently on a number of things. First, let's talk about the Haberman case, which has thrown us all for a loop, as you know. And we are reviewing that the steps that we may have to take. And we are looking at the funding and financing options, and certainly looking at the credit rating strategies. We are in active talks with the credit rating person who covers us. And we are also talking to Donna almost daily on the various options that we may have to take in order to meet this obligation, which we hope goes away. We are working on the redevelopment of the city budget book. You are going to, I believe, love this budget book. This budget book will be very transparent. It will not only cover the budget, have an introduction by Donna as the city manager for the accomplishments of the year, but each individual department will have a section in which they have their own budget that's part of the larger budget, and they will talk about their accomplishments, their concerns, and their future plans for the next year. So we just think it's going to be terrific for all of you. You will not have a question about what's going on in these departments. The fiscal transparency website, this site is now functional. We're working on departmental performance metrics, and they will be added once the city has reviewed them. This portal will basically be used by rating agencies, investors, anyone that wants to know, including all of you, of where we are financially in the city. The physical conditions analysis, updating that draft to reflect final comments and updated demographic and financial information. We're hoping to release it publicly in February. The multi-year financial plan, we were working on that. And then, of course, the Haberman case came in. So it's sort of thrown us, as I said before, for a loop. And now we're looking at looking at revising it, in which we will include whatever it is the decisions are to meet that obligation. And we will certainly have a section about that in the multi-year plan. But as I've told you all before, the multi-year plan, which is a 5-year plan, is a live document. So no matter what we put in now, that can change. And we can review that document every 6 months to make sure it's up to date. Any new developments that we have to put in there, hopefully new projects that will increase taxes, anything like that will go in this plan, and we will keep that up to date. Policies, we continue to draft policies as requested, and that the city will certainly see those when they have to, the council will see them when they have to approve them. And then we have, many of you may not know this, but we have a weekly call with Donna in which we go over where we are on the assignments we have and where she is, or anything that Donna feels we need to have, we need to know that has happened during the week. And that's, as I said, is a weekly call. That's where we are, and you'll see that in more detail when you get our quarterly report. James, do you want to talk about the policy they're reviewing tonight?
We certainly can. Donna, I don't know if you want me to go through, the contents of that policy, or, if you'd prefer to wait until, it's under consideration by the council, I'll, defer to you for that.
Let's wait till it's
Yeah.
under consideration.
Okay.
Okay, so then that's our report, Donna.
Okay, Rich is going to give a quick update on Haberman.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Just to follow up on what Margaret spoke about. Haberman threw everyone for a loop. For those who don't know, Haberman litigation, which has been going on in some form since the 80s, has culminated in a trial court determination that the city was liable to the tune of about $131 million. Since that decision came down, city management has been in repetitive meetings internally. We've met with CMA, we've discussed with CMA, our bond counsel, outside counsel, and a lot of our consultants, just to basically figure out the best path forward and prepare us for what is going to eventually be a meeting with plaintiff and his team to figure out if we can resolve this in a way that kind of addresses the needs of the taxpayers, not just theirs. And that's basically it. I mean, the next steps here are continued discussions internally. We'll be meeting with outside counsel this week and next week to just kind of really dig into the meat and potatoes of the matter. And we hope to have scheduled a meeting with the opposition within the next couple of weeks, and actually just roll up our sleeves and start seeing if we can come to a resolution on this. That's all I have.
Rich, are we still going to use Bob Bozzolino as our outside counsel on this next round of negotiations?
That's something that we've been discussing internally. Bob has been on as litigation counsel. We look to his guidance, obviously, because he knows the case, because he's been with the case for a long time. So he's definitely a part of discussions. As far as who's going to be at the table, we're still discussing that internally. And we hope to come up with some more clarity in the days that come. The days are coming.
So we don't know who's going to be at our side of the table yet.
No,
At this-
no. I'm meeting with Bob to go over the entire case. I've gotten all the documents. I will be calling some of you to give me some background information. So I will be meeting with Bob to understand the whole case before we get to the table. And the goal is whoever is sitting at the table with me will have a strong enough background for us to get to the next step. So hopefully we will let you know. We will have a conversation. It might be a special meeting that we have to have and then go into executive session for litigation because the interest is already start accruing. So that's why we're meeting daily. So we can get to them as soon as possible. I also need to meet with and read the zoning board notes. The idea is that I will not go into the meeting and have the Habermans tell me something that I should have known on our side.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Is that it, Rich?
That's all I have. Yes. Thank you.
All right. So, John, you want to give us the parking meters update and COVID?
Or we did an update on both of these at the working, Ms. Councilwoman Treston.
Excuse me, just for when the transcript is done, if we could just introduce everybody by their last name and what they do, it will make things easier for people to read moving forward. Mr. McNally.
Okay.
You bet. So John McNally, Executive Assistant to the City Manager. I wasn't even necessarily sure she was referring to me because we have so many Johns in this city. But as was preliminarily the update that I gave at the working meeting last week, so there's not been a whole lot that has shifted in the ground between then and now. But we do continue to, I know Councilman Delory is hot on the parking meter discussion and the parking discussion in general. So we met last week, we requested and received additional documents from our consultant that goes over some of the background formulation and underlying assumptions that he used in order to arrive at really the fiscal and economic schedule that he put together. So we are ground truthing that right now, and that's a collaboration between the police department, the clerk's department, Ina Resnick, the controller's office, and myself to really make sure that we are fully comfortable with it. And then once we are comfortable with what those numbers should be and what those underlying assumptions should be, we would move forward. And I would hope to say that we have some sort of RFP out in the not too distant future. Do you want me to get into City Manager Gaydon? Do you want me to get into residential parking lots?
Sure.
So, you know, as the council discussed at length at the working meeting last Thursday, there's a couple options on the table that the city is actively pursuing and fleshing out in terms of how to address the parking lots that were just handed back over to the private owners. As you all know, the city was losing and the taxpayers were losing $100,000 a year by leasing those lots. So we've had a number of emails from residents that have expressed an interest in paying the significantly higher amounts in order to be assured a parking spot. If you know, an entity, either ourselves or the individual owners of those lots, decide to sell a limited number of spaces relative or with respect to those individual lots. So we're looking at it internally of what the interest is and if it matches the number of spots. And we're also pursuing the potential change in the code that would allow the current owners to, in a free market, take over those lots and be able to charge what the free market demands, because as the code currently states, they are not allowed to do so. So any questions on either of those two items?
Yes, John, resident Allison Blanchette emailed the council saying that she had a formula for square footage for parking. Has she emailed you back that information?
She has not. I will reach out to her tomorrow, though.
Thank you.
You bet.
Oh, okay, the last thing that I have is I want to.
Did you want me? I'm sorry, Donna. Did you want me to do COVID numbers or?
Oh, yeah. Go right ahead.
So just our weekly or biweekly COVID update. So for the week ending Sunday, the 17th, so the 7 preceding days ending on the 17th, there were 253 positive test results in Long Beach, which equates out to a little over 36 a day, or 1.08 per 1,000 residents. Those numbers have been sort of hovering around that mark for really the past 3 weeks or so, since we started feeling the effect of the holidays and the gatherings that took place at the holidays. Long Island wide information, which is the other key metrics that they're using. Long Island has a 7.68% positivity rate for all those that have been tested. and a 23% availability of ICU beds. That number has actually ticked up a couple of percentage points. So not that any of this is good news, but in terms of are we going to be able to stay open? Are our schools going to be able to stay open and businesses stay open? We think, or we're looking at that as a really key metric, and that it's holding tight is at least positive with respect to being able to keep our society open. The last thing I would hit is vaccines. The rollout is obviously happening right now. It is a very frustrating one because the supply versus demand equation is not in anyone's favor. There are presently, under the tiers that are open in New York State, 7 million people approximately that are eligible for the vaccine. And New York State is getting 300,000 or less vaccines shipped to it every week. So as I told you on Thursday, if you just do that simple math and stretch it out, you're looking at potentially 6 months at these rates in order to get all 7 million people vaccinated. New York State reported out today that 77% of the doses they have received have in fact been put in arms, and that number is accelerating. For those that are interested and want to learn more about the eligibility, their individual eligibility, where they need to call in order to try and get an appointment to get vaccinated, which will caution you up front, could potentially be several weeks out, and you might have to wait on hold for a very long period of time. But to get the information of the closest location to you, safety information about the vaccine, the state has set up a website, which is covidvaccine.health.ny.gov. Again, that's covidvaccine.health.ny.gov. And the vaccination hotline that the state has set up is 1-833-NYS-4-VAX, V-A-X, which in numerical translation is 1-833-697-4829. And absent any questions, that's the COVID report.
How has the vaccinations been regarding the like the police, the fire, the volunteers, and all of the emergency staff? Are they happening as scheduled or as planned, or has the distribution affected those individuals as well?
Yes and no. There's been some that were able to get in early, so the 1A schedule allowed some people to get in, but even that got bogged down. So I know, unfortunately, we have some, some of our paid firefighters and other EMTs that should have been in 1A that did not click the link the night they got it, because the link went out basically New Year's Eve, and they waited 2 days. So now they are 2 weeks out from being able to receive it. I will say that more than a simple majority of those that are eligible from city workers, first responders, EMTs, ambulance drivers, and we're making an appeal to expand who should be on the 1B list to include our sanitation workers, our water filtration guys, our sewer department, because they are all absolutely either public interfacing or due to a lack of redundancy of workforce or unique skill set in the job that they do, absolutely critical to ensuring the health and safety of all of our residents. So we're making that appeal to the state. But what we have seen is the vast majority of those who are eligible are willing to get the vaccine. And if they've not already received their first dose, they are scheduled or signed up to do so.
Thank you. Thanks, John.
Okay. The last thing I have is that I want to say congratulations to John Mirando and Scott Kimmons. John Mirando is retiring effective this Thursday, will be his last day as Public Works Commissioner. And he's going to be doing some part-time work with us, but he is now going to be the part-time fire commissioner. John comes with an extensive fire background. Scott Kimmons is going to be moved. He will be deputy fire commissioner, but his major role now would be OEM. One of the things that I have noticed since I've been here is that we have a lack of protocols and procedures for any major event. We do have a protocol for a hurricane, but it hasn't been updated in a while. And so the goal is I want our OEM, where we spend quite a bit of money, to be the #1 OEM center in Nassau County. And so Scott is challenged with bringing that up to speed, as well as getting all of our policies and procedures and any protocols into play for us. And he still will remain the commissioner of the building department. So congratulations to you both. And I look forward to all of us working together in each of your new roles. And that completes my report.
All right, great. Thanks, Donna. There any final questions from the council before we move on? All right, seeing none, then why don't we move on to the, I guess, the public hearing.
Okay, our first item is a public hearing for resolution granting waiver of off-street parking requirements for premise 1052 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, for a convenience store smoke shop. And hold on, I have the representative for the property, Tom Sofield. Tom, you're unmuted. You can go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name's Tom Sofield. I'm an attorney with an office at 64 West Park, directly across from City Hall. And I'm representing Shobi Rangoonwala with respect to an application for off-street parking at 1052 West Beach Street in the West End. This premises had previously been used as a foot spa. Mr. Rangoonwala is the current proprietor of Cloud9, the convenience store across from City Hall, and he's looking to operate a similar type of business at that address in the West End. One issue that I know was of concern to the council when Mr. Rangoonwala first opened his store across the street from City Hall was ensuring that anybody purchasing any tobacco products would be of age. My office is directly above Mr. Rangoonwala's convenience store, and I'm in there a couple of times a day buying soda and more snacks than I should. And I can tell you that he runs a very tight ship there, that they ID almost everyone that comes in there unless they're look to be about 50 or 60 years old. And he's sitting to my right, and I'm going to turn it over to him to answer any questions for you. But I'm happy to represent that he does run a very strict ship with respect to making sure that tobacco products are not sold to anyone who's below the proper age. If with no questions for me, I'll turn it over to Mr. Rangoonwala, who is seated about 7 feet to my right.
Okay, is Mr. Rangoonwala going to say anything?
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Oh, hi.
I mean, is there any question for me? So I can. I mean, I've been through this thing already 3 years ago when I opened this Cloud9 convenience store right across the City Hall building. And you guys know me very well. I've been running this store for 3 years, and there are two people who is with me right now who lives in Long Beach, two girls who works there, one in the morning shift and one in the afternoon shift. And I guess that's about all I want to say. I'm going to open a similar thing at 1052 Beach Street on West End.
All employees will be Long Beach kids. We're going to employ Long Beach kids.
Yeah, they are Long Beach kids. They are working for me, so it's going to be. I'm going to hire just the Long Beach people, so
Okay.
they can have a the job stays in Long Beach.
All right. So let's see. I see from the paperwork you're expecting a couple of deliveries each month. So that sound right?
Yes, usually I bring myself the stuff for the store, but sometimes if we get soda or something, it comes like once in 2 weeks. So
Okay.
just take 10 minutes.
All right. And you only expect to have one employee at a time too, it says,
Yeah.
generally working?
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. Any questions from the council members?
Good evening, this is Liz Treston. I'm just, will you have room for a bike rack?
I was saving that for you, Liz.
Yeah, always. I mean, they asked me the same thing, and I don't mind to have a bike rack in front of my store.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Okay, Mr. Bendo, may we vote on this so Mr. Sofield and his client?
That was my plan to do that, so they don't have to stick around.
Thank you,
So,
Mr. Curtis.
yeah, so if that, seeing no other questions, but let's see if we have any questions or input from the public.
No hands are raised at this time.
All right, no hands are raised, so let's close the public hearing. And why don't we, Dave, move on to the voting so we don't have to have them stay on.
Absolutely. So this is for item number 2, which is a resolution granting waiver of off-street parking requirements for premise 1052 West Beach Street, street floor, Long Beach, New York, for a convenience store smoke shop. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I
I
will.
will. President Bendo.
Okay. Second, Scott.
I will. Yep.
Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes, and welcome with your second location.
Thank you.
Thank
Wish
all
you a lot
very
of
much for your time.
success.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much for your time.
Okay, have a good night.
You too.
Okay, and I guess we can move on to the agenda then.
On to the regular calendar. Item 1 is approval of minutes from prior meetings, November 17th, 2020 and December 7th, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
I will.
I'm sorry, was that you, Liz?
Yes, sir.
Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay, we've already called item number 2, so we'll go on to item number 3, which is resolution adopting a revenue policy for the city of Long Beach.
Okay, that will be
Okay.
James.
All right, James, long time no here.
Well, good evening. So James Nyko, strategic consultant to the city. I'm here tonight to discuss the revenue policy. So as many of you are aware, in an effort to enhance transparency, accountability, and provide some guidelines for key financial decisions over the last several months, the city has been drafting and adopting a number of different fiscal policies. The revenue policy that's under consideration tonight is one of those. As a best practice of the Government Finance Officers Association, it's recommended that a revenue policy be established and reviewed on an annual basis. The purpose of the policy under consideration again tonight is to ensure that the revenues of the city are, appropriate, balanced, and capable of supporting the services that are provided by the city. The policy itself includes a number of different topics and statements. Some of those include internal controls, the proper use of fund balance or savings, ways to maximize revenue opportunities for both new and existing sources of revenue, which would include grants, and really trying to strike a balance between the different types of revenues that are received by the city. As I mentioned before, the policy includes a statement at the end indicating that it's going to be reviewed, revised as necessary, and readopted on an annual basis.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the council members? All right. Policy was pretty straightforward.
Right.
Anything from the public, Dave?
Yes, we have Roy Lester.
Okay.
Roy, go ahead.
Where do we find the policy?
It's on the agenda page on their city council meetings.
It was not when I downloaded it. Has it just been added? The
No.
resolution was there. The policy was not there.
Roy, I'll email you a copy of the policy if you didn't see it out there.
No, I did not. I don't know.
Email you a copy of the policy.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Was that it, Roy?
That's it. Well, I
Okay.
haven't seen the policy. I can't ask any questions.
I just
about it.
checked. It's on the council agenda page for tonight.
Okay, I guess I downloaded it earlier today, so, or yesterday, actually, so I guess it wasn't there then. All right,
It's been there since last week. It's on the, under city council meetings and then under city council agendas 2021. It's right
Yeah.
under the agenda.
okay,
Roy, if you have any questions, since you have it now, just give me a call.
all right.
Okay, anyone else, Dave?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, let's move on to the next item.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a customer project commitment CPC agreement with the New York Power Authority, NYPA.
That's Commissioner Miranda and Mr. Fabrizio.
Joe, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, we're on mute now. John and I are together, just so you know, we're on the same speaker. Okay, so this is a customer project commitment agreement with the New York Power Authority to upgrade 752 of our remaining streetlights to LED technology. Once this project is complete, it's estimated that we'll save $79,000 in energy cost annually and $15,000 in maintenance costs annually, for a total savings of $94,000 annually. The design work for this was performed by Guth DeCunzo Consulting Engineers, which were paid for by NYPA to do the work. The project also includes a what they call a smart city technology. With this technology, when these lights are installed, if a light goes out or there's a line failure, we will be notified over the internet. So we'll be finding out about lights out before residents even call us. Construction would be the next step, and it's going to be performed by Wellsback. Wellsback no longer has a contract with us, but they have a contract with NYPA for this project. By signing this agreement tonight, this will lock in the regional bid pricing that NYPA has procured to this point. If we don't get this done by this meeting, we'll lose that pricing, and pricing will go up and the savings won't be as great. If we sign tonight, the project is expected to be completed in the second or third quarter of 2021. And this project's entirely funded by grant funds and will come at no cost to the city.
Just realized I'm talking and I was muted. Any questions from the council members? All right, Dave, any from the public?
No hands raised.
Okay, John, Joe, thanks a lot. Hopefully you're sitting at a bar stool talking to us, so go back to what you're doing.
Unfortunately, we're at the office.
Okay. Well, thanks anyway. And
Drink later.
okay.
They have number 5 as well.
Oh, all right. So I guess you're not going anywhere.
I have a hand up now from our from Margaret, our consultant. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Margaret.
Yes.
Yeah, Margaret, you're muted.
Sorry.
There you
This
go.
is something, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, this is something significant enough because it'll affect the budget that we should put as a line item in the 5-year plan. So if, John, you could just send James and myself a little more information about that, we'll put it in the plan. Oh, did they leave?
They're
No,
there.
they're
They're muted.
Make sure you get it. We'll make sure you get it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Margaret, I was just going to say, I have an entire cost sheet that breaks the project down to the savings and the construction cost, as well as the engineering cost and the various timing of this project. So I will
Perfect.
forward that to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. McNally.
Yeah, I just, wording on the resolution itself, the last whereas states the city's annual estimated energy savings and maintenance costs once the project is complete will be $94,035. The way Commissioner Miranda stated it, that was going to be the savings, not the annual costs. So just a clarifying question to make sure that the resolution is being read correctly or reads correctly.
Well, I think he meant the energy savings and maintenance costs.
Yeah, so.
So,
it
so
needs to be
you're
corrected.
saving on the energy and the maintenance.
That statement is correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, maybe the savings could have been a couple of shifted to the right. I see what you're saying, but
Yeah. But there's a savings on maintenance and energy.
Yeah,
costs.
I interpreted it to mean the savings on both energy and
Yes.
maintenance.
All right. As long as you interpret it that way, I'm cool.
Okay.
All right, we now have one other hand raised, Roy Lester. Go ahead, Roy.
I'm sorry, I couldn't raise my hand. It wouldn't let me raise it on the other computer. I'm sorry, John had broken it down, the energy savings and the maintenance costs. Can you just do that again? One was 15,000, the other was 70-something thousand. But I
Yeah,
was-
the estimated energy cost is $79,035, and the estimated cost in maintenance is 15,000.
Okay,
that-
and this,
Mostly has to do with bulb replacement.
okay, and bulb replacements with the LEDs?
That's what I'm saying, because right now, those 570 something lights or 752 lights are regular incandescent. So there's so many of them get replaced each year. So once they're all converted to LEDs, they won't be being replaced. And that's where the main cost is. We'll still get line breaks and things like that, so.
I just wanted to mention one thing as well. We just retained a new street lighting contractor as of November 1st. And we actually had placed this information in the bid, and our bid prices for the maintenance got reduced from $16,000 a month to $8,000 a month. And, we believe it's, because that we put this information in the bid that, all the lights are essentially going to be new on Broadway, on Park Avenue, by the end of this year.
So when you're saying that the maintenance cost is going down by 15,000, that's before the new contract. With the new contract,
It's actually more.
it's another 60,000.
It's a very nice savings.
Right.
Yes. Yeah,
Right.
we have very good. I mean, the contract has been. It's called New York Trenchless. Is the new contractor. It used to be Wellsback. They've been working in the city now for 2.5 months, and I have to say things are actually going pretty well, and they're half the cost. That doesn't happen very often, but so far so good. I mean, we've been keeping a really close eye on them, and the complaints have been actually a lot less than with Wellsback. And things have been going pretty well. So knock on wood, it's been a success.
Okay, and right now, we're spending, is all of this cost right now under transportation?
No, it's on the A line, and it's under this public works budget. It's A1490, street lighting.
I'm sorry, A what?
1490.
Yeah,
It's under street lighting. I think we have budgeted like 300,000+.
and then there's 180 under street lighting and transportation. Is that the same lights
I
or
don't
different
think that's the same. I don't have it in front of me, quite honestly, and I could show you easily if I had it in front of me. But it's definitely under public works, street relamping. It's called, I think, right?
So it's
Then
possible.
what is-
That's the,
So Roy, Ena's not on the call tonight.
possibly that's the
So
cost.
any questions that you have regarding the budget and this savings that we're getting, we can sit down with you and talk to you about it, as far as how it compares to the budget.
Yeah, Donna, I just was cutting on Joe a little bit here. The one in transportation, that's the power cost for the lighting. So we pay a certain amount depending on each fixture. So when those fixtures are turned over to LEDs, we pay less for each fixture to PSE&G. So that's how the savings is estimated for the power cost. And that will show up next year in the transportation line under street lighting.
Okay, so the transportation will be going down by about 80,000.
Yes,
And the city and the maintenance is right now about 300,000.
It's a little bit, but it's budgeted for a little more than that. So there's
Wow.
definitely going to be a significant savings there. Yeah, Donna had asked us, the city manager had asked us to reduce our budget in this office by 10%, and that was one of the key factors in being able to do so
for next year's
for
budget.
next year's budget because of the reduction in this contract. It's going to be even more than 10%, I believe, right, John?
Yes.
So it's a big savings. I could, if you want offline, I could show you. I could look up the budget information for you in the budget and show you exactly where it's listed.
Okay, yeah, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
No, Joe, it would be, Joe and John, it would be interesting to understand these 752 lights in a total environment of what, 2,100 lights or 1,500 lights? So that-
1,800 lights.
So it was 1,800 lights. So it means,
We've converted 1,100 already over the last several years.
so that means 1,100 plus this 752. So that's 1,800 lights in total.
Correct, a little over 1,800.
So that means all of our lights, 100% of our street lights are now LED.
They will be at the end of this contract.
See, that's something that's great. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anyone else, Dave?
Eileen Hessian.
Okay.
Go ahead, Eileen. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm sorry, I've been trying to get on the whole night and it hasn't worked. So my question is, Margaret and James were speaking earlier, and James did introduce himself as a strategic consultant. Are they both consultants? What is Margaret? Who are they? And are they part-time people? Are they consultants that we're using just for special projects? And
Eileen, they're from CMA. They're the city's financial consultants. If you want, you can give me a shout tomorrow or after the meeting, and I can fill you in more detail, because that's really not to do with this item.
oh,
But,
I know, I'm sorry.
But
Or
they're
Eileen, you can give me a call tomorrow. I can go over with you what CMA has been doing for the last year and what they're tasked to do right now.
Very good, thank you.
okay. Anyone else, Dave?
I just also want to say, Eileen, they're exactly the type of people that we need to help us move this city forward, get our budget right, and reduce our expenses and increase.
Okay,
our
good.
revenue. So it's a great question, and you'll get a lot more information.
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
Nope, that was it.
Okay, let's move on to item 5.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the adoption of the Nassau County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
All right. Is that John and Joe again?
That's, this is all Joe.
All Joe. All right.
Yes. I'm just going to give you a quick overview. Since 2007, Nassau County and participating jurisdictions, including Long Beach, has maintained a hazard mitigation plan in order to reduce community vulnerability to natural disasters and meet the requirements of the Stafford Act. The county and participating jurisdictions last updated the Nassau County HMP in 2014. The update largely focuses on implementing lessons learned from an unprecedented impact of Superstorm Sandy in 2012. A total of 51 jurisdictions participated in the development of the 2021 Nassau County Hazard Mitigation Plan update. From Long Beach, myself, John Morando, Chandra Atkins, Rich Corbett, and Scott Kemmons assisted in providing the lengthy documentation necessary for inclusion in the Long Beach component. The way the document is structured is essentially as follows. Section 1 gives a background of all participating jurisdictions. Section 2 describes the planning process and the collaborative efforts of all involved. Section 3 focuses primarily on Nassau County. Section 4 is a risk/vulnerability assessment. It describes all different ways a community is vulnerable, including flooding, hurricanes, tropical storms, lighting, coastal hazards, drought, snowstorms, etc. Section 5 of the document focuses primarily on Nassau County and their ability to support hazard mitigation. Section 6 focuses on mitigation strategies and goals. At the end of the document, there's several annexes/appendixes or supplements, which is basically a summary of each community's previous and planned HMP projects to promulgate the goals and objectives of the Nassau County HMP. The City of Long Beach Annex Appendix contains 15 actions to reduce the city's vulnerability to future storms. A few of those projects are construction of the North Shore Critical Infrastructure Protection Project, the drainage project, which actually we received bids on January 14th, which involves improving the drainage at West Park Avenue between New York to Nevada, National south of Park, and the intersection of Riverside and Park. It also includes HMPs or hazard mitigation plans for City Hall, the MLK, and the ice arena. Lastly, adoption of this document is one of the prerequisites of FEMA to to release the $33 million off of the North Shore Critical Infrastructure Project. So it's extremely important that we adopt this. On another note, as an aside, I just wanted to congratulate the Commissioner of Public Works, John Miranda, on his retirement. His work ethic and professionalism should be commended. I had the pleasure of working with John for 4 years and got to work with him side by side in some very exciting projects. You could always count on him to be fair, honest, and objective. I wish him all the best in his retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep. Well, he's not going anywhere yet. We still got him. All right, Joe, just one thing. In the City of Long Beach Annex, it has the primary point of contact as Mike Tagney and lists him as the mayor, and Rich Corbett as the alternate. That probably needs to be changed to Donna and Scott Kemmons.
That's absolutely correct. What I had sent you was a draft, I think, of the document. That's probably like the final draft before it's actually released.
Okay.
I had actually requested that change be made. You're absolutely correct, though.
Okay.
That will be changed.
Okay, great. Other than that, any questions from the council members?
I just have a comment to John Mirando and Joe Fabrizio. I remember the items that were in the capital budget, and now they're coming together along with this mitigation plan, the bulkheading, the West Park Avenue. There's a ton of projects that the city and you guys and your outside contractors have been involved in. And I just want to appreciate all of the work that John Mirando and staff had done on this and continue to do. And also basically to wish John Mirando, you may be, John, you may be slightly retiring in one aspect, but I look forward to continuing to work with you and Joe and others down the road. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it also.
All right, any other questions from the council members? All right, seeing none. Dave, we got any from the public?
No hands raised.
Okay, let's move on to item 6.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a location agreement.
Okay, talking about some art here. So who's talking about that, Donna?
Rich and John.
Okay.
You want to kick it off, Rich?
I think you can go over the finer points and I can follow up.
Okay. So this is actually an opportunity that was brought to us by the city's marketing consultant. And it's a joint venture with Discover Long Island, which is the Long Island region's tourism bureau, for lack of better terms. They rebranded themselves Discover Long Island a number of years ago, much for the better. Because I think it used to be called the Long Island Convention Visitors and something Bureau. So Discover Long Island's got a much better ring to it. They have a project going that's trying to drive, businesses to local communities, drive, traffic to local communities. And we were one of the 2 sites chosen on Long Island for this endeavor. And what it is, and actually I will try and share my screen now, is what you are seeing here is what the artist's work is done in Port Jeff. Ignore the graffiti looking stuff on the top. But this is the Vision Long Island Executive Director, and what they are proposing to do is have the same artist that did this sort of angel wings that obviously have an East End spin on it, and put angel wings up in the approximate location of the perimeter fence where Scoot and Surf is on the boardwalk at Riverside. So the idea is you create, a focal point, a place for folks to come visit. Obviously, we live in the age of selfies. So this is an Instagram attraction, if nothing else. And, it's something that they feel has been very successful in Port Jeff, to drive traffic to the downtown, to get people down there that haven't otherwise been there, that would then go frequent restaurants and shops. And they're proposing to do the same thing here. But we have, because this is being done in conjunction with Scoot and Surf and Discover Long Island, it obviously gets a little bit more complicated, and that's where Rich comes into play on this stuff.
Right. So, just to follow up on John, why is the city a party to an agreement like this? Is partially because of the nature relationship between the city and the Scootens over at the Riverside location. Their lease requires our permission when they want to do something with the property. So we all got our heads together, sat down and spoke with representatives from DLI as well as with the Scootens themselves. Everyone's very excited about it. We have an agreement pretty much drafted and about finalized. It doesn't cost the city anything. They'll be providing us with anti-graffiti coating to preserve it. It should be about at least about a year in duration. It'll be right there on the boardwalk for everyone to see.
All right. When do they anticipate this being done?
Well, right now, I guess contingent upon the council's vote on this, and once we sign the ink on the contract, or put the ink on the contract, it's just a matter of scheduling the artist to get in there and start getting the mural ready.
Right. I'm assuming not till spring when it warms up some.
Maybe sooner than that. We do have to coordinate with them a bit, but we definitely have a little bit of time before we get there.
Right. Okay. Any questions from the council members? All right, Dave, any from the public?
Roy Lester. Go ahead, Roy.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it really does look beautiful. But I guess my question is, why does it need an agreement? Don't we own that wall?
We do, Roy, but so I guess I explained it a little bit before. The nature of our relationship between the Scooten facility and us is that of a lease, right? And so it was kind of the three of us. What's that?
Do they lease the wall?
The perimeter fence is part of that facility that they lease, yes.
Okay, that would explain it. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else, Dave?
That's all.
Okay, let's move on to item 7.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept a donation for Long Beach Fire Department engine 2343.
That's Rich.
Okay.
All right. So this is pretty self-explanatory. A gentleman by the name of John Finazzo. He's a resident of Long Beach and a field sales rep for DeWalt. He'd like to make a donation of rescue tools to the Long Beach Fire Department, specifically engine 2343. We've had some correspondence with Mr. Finazzo as well as Sam Pinto, the union president, just to kind of go through the provenance of these items, making sure they didn't fall off a truck or something. Turns out that they didn't. And you can see in the resolution, there are 5 items. One is a cutoff saw kit. Another one is a flexible chainsaw kit, a grinder kit, a diamond rescue blade, and some battery packs, or a battery pack. From what I'm told, these are pretty phenomenal tools, and the engine would be good to have them.
All right. Good stuff. Any questions from the council members?
I don't have a question, John. I just have, a comment to thank Mr. Finazzo and DeWalt. As far as this equipment, if we know the answer to this, who inventories these items? Takes it in, accepts it, logs it. It's a 2000. I imagine these are brand new pieces of equipment. That's my question. On our side, internally on us.
Okay. I think once we finalize the resolution on this, it would be, I guess, the fire department's responsibility to inventory and report to the city manager and the comptroller with regard to, I guess, its value and things of that nature.
Right. That's part of all the policies we've adopted. Okay. Thank you, Rich.
No problem.
All right. Any other questions from the council?
I just also want to thank Mr. Finazzo and DeWalt, a very storied brand in terms of tools and whatnot. So top quality stuff, really impressive, and just another example of Long Beach residents coming through for the city. So thank you very much, Mr. Finazzo.
Especially if these things are used to save people.
Right.
All right. Any other comments? All right, Dave, any from the
I
public?
think either John Miranda or Joe Fabrizio had something to say because they raised their hand on this, so we.
Yeah,
John,
just,
John, you're unmuted.
yeah,
Okay.
just to let you know, the XO for the paid firefighters would inventory this equipment and then bring it in.
Okay, great. All right, anybody from the public, Dave?
Yes, Sam Pinto. Sam, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good evening. I too would just like to extend my appreciation on behalf of the Long Beach Firefighters Union to Mr. Finazzo on his donation, and also to Rich Barrios, who worked closely with us in trying to organize the proper route for this donation. These tools are worth several $1,000s. The union helped facilitate the donation. And just to give a little point of reference, these are DeWalt brand tools that are battery powered, so they're not gas powered, and they're a lot more reliable than the conventional chainsaw and circular saw that we have now. And the capabilities of these tools is that they can cut through metal, concrete, wood, safety glass, pretty much every type of material out there. And one of the greater benefits of how we chose to go with these tools is that these battery powered tools can operate in low oxygen environments, like in fires, where you can't start up a conventional gas powered saw or other, carburetor based saws because there's not enough oxygen. So these tools are very versatile. They're firefighting rated tools, and we look forward to using them and serving the public with them. So thanks once again to Mr. Finazzo, the council, to Donna Muscaden, and as well as Rich for really working on trying to get this worked out for us. That's it.
Okay, great. Hopefully they won't have to be put to too much use, but good thing we have them. We'll have them. Well, pending the vote. Any other public comments there, Dave?
That was all.
Okay. So thanks again, Mr. Finazzo, and DeWalt, and let's move on to item 8.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the general fund budget.
That's me. We have a balance in the federal transportation grant of $18,977. And so what we're doing is we're recording the revenues and recording the expenses into the budget. The city will have to do a 10% match, which will come from the transportation department's existing budget. And that 10% is like $18 or $1,900.
Okay. Any questions from the council members? All right, seeing none. Dave, any from the public?
None at this time.
Okay, let's move on to item 9.
And item 9, our final item, is a resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive off-street parking requirements for premise 162 East Park Avenue, street floor, for a retail gift shop. This item is a publication only. A hearing will be held February 2nd at 7 p.m. Now on to the voting portion. Item 2 has been called already. So item 3 is a resolution adopting a revenue policy for the city of Long Beach. Who introduced and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
Come on, Mike, that should be you.
Come on, Mike.
You're the revenue guy.
Sorry, I was muted. I second.
Thank you. Voting, Councilmember Delury,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a customer project commitment CPC agreement with the New York Power Authority NYPA. Who introduced and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delury,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing the adoption of the Nassau County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delury,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Before I vote, I just want to thank you, Commissioner Miranda, for everything you've done in your service to the city. I vote yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a location agreement. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I
I
will.
will.
Liz,
Second.
who'd you
first.
have for the first?
I had you originally, but.
Okay. Then put Liz for second.
Liz second, okay. Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Looking forward to this. Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
I also want to thank the DLI and Scoot and Surf and Rich for doing all his hard work. And absolutely, I vote yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept a donation for Long Beach Fire Department Engine 2343. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Thankfully, yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Thank you for your donation, Mr. Finazzo. I vote yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Thank you, Mr. Benazzo and the city for accepting this donation on behalf of keeping our city safer. Thank you. Vote yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 8 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the general fund budget. Who would introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
And finally, item 9 is a resolution authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing of an application to waive off-street parking requirements for premise 162 East Park Avenue, street floor for a retail gift shop. Who would just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I
Before
will.
we close,
Oh.
sorry, before we close the meeting, I just want to say my deepest thank yous to Mr. Mirando as well, and look forward to continue to work with him, even though he's semi-retired. And I vote to close the meeting.
You make the motion?
Yes.
Who seconds the motion?
I will.
Thank you. Voting, Councilmember Delory,
Mr. Mirando, I am very much looking forward to working with you in the near future in all your different capacities. I do have to vote to close this meeting, and I do vote yes.
Councilmember Mandel,
Yes.
Councilmember Treston,
Yes.
Vice President McGinnis,
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. On to good and welfare. So I think most
All right.
people know the drill.
Yep,
but-
folks, if you want to speak for 3 minutes, use the raise your hand function and we'll call upon you and you can speak for 3 minutes on anything you want. And our first speaker is Roy Lester.
Okay.
Okay, just a couple of observations. I have to say, I'm kind of disappointed when I hear the corporate counsel and CMA say that the Haberman decision has thrown them for a loop. This has been going on for years. For years, people have gotten up and spoken about the impending incoming Haberman decision. We have lost every appeal. I can understand being very disappointed, but being thrown for a loop, what was expected? What did you guys think was going to happen? You know, I'm glad that Don is looking into it and looking at different things we can do. But I guess I'm just disappointed because everybody knew this was coming down. All you have to do is go over the old transcripts. People have been talking about this for years. And, you know, to hear, well, we were thrown for a loop. It's like we had no idea. Well, anyway, the other thing I'm asking about are the transcripts. Donna, I had emailed you a copy of the transcript that I had done by a a commercial place, believe it or not, in England that was relatively cheap. And it changed every time a speaker changed. So you could actually read it. The transcripts you're giving us right now are unreadable. They change every line. You have no idea who's talking. It's coming directly out of YouTube from a voice recognition. And it's not what the governor had in mind when he said that we should be getting transcripts. So I don't know what
We're
happened to the
looking
one I
into it,
sent you.
Roy. Thank you for sending me the email. We are looking into it.
All right. I mean, it's relatively cheap. It's cheaper
Yeah.
than having any of your people do it. And it actually took a day and a half, and that was it. You know, and these YouTube ones took 8 months to get. And, you know, now we get them right away, but you've seen them. You look at them and you can see that they're basically worthless.
We're
Anyway.
looking into it, Roy.
All right.
And I thank you. I do want to comment on the reason
Not on my 3 minutes, though. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you done, Roy?
No, I'm not done, but go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Just no, have them stop the clock.
Stop the clock, okay.
Clock is stopped.
ahead, Roy.
You have 40 seconds left, Mr. Lester.
All right.
Go ahead, Roy.
Oh, okay. On the sanitation, the recyclable, none of that's making sense to me. I'd like to know what we pay for the regular garbage per ton. I mean, it went up 4,000%. Our collection, our recyclable. And when the law was originally put in place, it was supposed to be on an economic basis too. And it doesn't sound like it's an economic thing. I don't even know that these recyclables are being used to recycle, if they're being used for anything. And, you know, none of it is making sense. When we had the raise, did we change our plan with the state? Because
Well,
I know
Roy, what we'll do is, because I know I don't want them to say your 40 seconds is up.
It is up.
I will
The
give you
timer
a
just went off.
call, and we will talk about recycling and where we are with all of that, so that you can better understand it and you can ask more in-depth questions if you like.
Well, the other thing too.
Oh,
Go ahead.
is that okay, Roy?
Yes.
And that's your time,
I
Roy.
want to go back to your comment about that Rich Barrios and CMA said they were surprised. I have in my hand the document from Moody's, the credit outlook, and they too also said that they were surprised for the amount of 131. What we showed in our financials was that we were looking to pay out $55 million. So I think that where everyone is talking about being surprised that it wasn't $55 million, that it actually had doubled. And Moody says the same thing in their news and analysis talking about Long Beach. They actually said that the size of the latest judgment is a particular surprise. So
okay, I don't understand that, because the 50 million was from how many years ago? 19 years ago, something like that. I mean,
Right.
a long time ago. So if Moody's actually expected it to actually stay the same, I'm kind of shocked at Moody's.
I can't say what Moody's expected except for what they put in here. So I just want you to know, of course, you already know that we're working on it. We're doing our best, but Moody's and along with us, we did have 55 million recorded for it. So I will talk to you soon, Roy.
Okay.
And
Tina and I will give you a call when she gets back.
And just quickly on the recycling, and I think my numbers will be close, and I see Joe and John are probably still on, but we used to pay $2.50 a ton for recycling, to dispose of the recycling. That's when there was an actual market for people that were purchasing the recycling materials. It was mostly being purchased by China. That market has dried up. So we now pay, I believe it's $60 or $65 a ton to dispose of our recycling. That is why it went up so much, but we still pay less than we do to dispose of the recycling than we do for our municipal solid waste. So that's the reason for the difference. Anyway, his time was up anyway. So Who's next?
Eileen Hessian.
Okay.
Okay, this is about the Haberman thing. At 130 million and 9% interest, it's almost $1 million a month that we're paying in interest, I think. Is that right? And my question is, while you're trying to set up meetings and getting this thing going, are we still paying $1 million a month?
Yes, that's why we're moving extremely fast on getting this done. The interest started actually in November.
Hmm.
And we found out the interest started in November last Monday.
Oh, I know it's too early because you haven't started talks yet, but have we looked into, and this is rhetorical, bankruptcy or bonding?
Chapter 5 or bonding.
We're looking into everything.
Good. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you too tomorrow, Eileen.
Yes, good, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Who's next, Dave?
Kathleen O'Leary.
Hi, Kathleen. Let's hopefully we don't have a repeat of last time.
No, we
Oh,
don't.
she's
Can you hear me?
unmuted. Yep.
Okay, great. Two things. I didn't catch the details on the parking meters, and I guess the question I have is, are we planning on using the system that Rockville Center has with the central meter and just signs up for each spot? And are we putting them in the Central District, Lido Beach, and the West End? And then going back to the recycling, I got so confused this week, I had to call my neighbor as to when to put out the recycling. But, you know, I also have the question whether or not the stuff that we put out is being recycled. And I'm gonna say, you know, if we could do a pilot program where we separate everything that has a deposit due on it and maybe go for 3 months and compare the money between what we pay when the deposit stuff is included in the recycling as opposed to what we pay when it's not included. I think that would be a good way to, you know, show the cost benefit of it. That's
Well,
it.
okay, we don't do the actual recycling ourselves. We take it to a municipal district that deals with the recycling. So we just drop it off with them. So we don't actually do that kind of separating and stuff into the different components for the different feedstocks for the different recycling efforts. So they just take it off our hands.
And yeah, but like, what do they do with it? You know, I guess that's my question.
That's up to the municipal district. Whatever they do, I'm sure they most likely they try to sell it. I would assume, but I don't. I see Joe and John are still on. I don't know if there's any feedback we get what they actually do with it, but I don't think we track that because it becomes their responsibility once we give it to them.
Okay. And the parking meters?
As for the parking, oh wait, I just see Joe unmuted.
Yeah, John Miranda.
Yeah.
Basically, we take all our recyclables over to Sanitary District 1, who has a contract with Omni. Omni is the recycler. They separate it at their site. Once the markets went, we could no longer do single stream, or we'd be paying $85 a ton. Well, that's right. It was $105 a ton for single stream, which is actually $20 more than we're paying for municipal solid waste. So that's why it's been broken up into plastics and cans as one group, and paper and cardboard. So paper and cardboard, we could actually pay $35 a ton, and then we would pay just commingled, just pay $80 a ton at that point. So that was the most reasonable way to save money. They take it and Omni finds the markets for what they recycle and pull out of the waste stream, and they're the ones that sell it. So
okay, I mean, I just see it, you know, leaving. I've been doing this for years, like leaving out the deposit stuff in a clear plastic thing. You know, you know it's getting to the right place, and it's a way of helping people during the pandemic, because there are a lot of people who do this type of work. I saw one guy last weekend with a pickup truck going through the garbage can over by the Laurel. the entire bed of the truck was filled with deposit bottles. You know, it was a lot of stuff. So,
Well, it really wouldn't be cost effective for us to hire the labor to pull those kind of things out, not at 5 cents a deposit. And I think that's part of the problem. You know, the state is looking into increasing the bottle deposit from 5 cents to 10 cents, and that may make people more apt to recycle themselves and bring back their deposit bottles. But quite frankly, at 5 cents a bottle, for a lot of people, it's not worth storing it and bringing it back to the stores. So
Right.
if the state raises 10%, I think you might see more people doing that then. And I believe there has been some discussion in the state to raise the deposit from a nickel to 10 cents.
all right, that's good. No, I'm one of those people who doesn't bring it back. But I'm saying if the homeowners were to separate out the bottles that have deposits on them, it would be less for sanitation to pick up, and it would reduce the cost for recycling for the city. Plus, it would give people, you know, an extra 10, 20 bucks that are hurting in the pandemic. That's my point. I wouldn't expect the city to do it.
And I think that's a point well taken, Kathleen. It obviously can't be the policy of the city.
No.
But if residents wanted to take it upon themselves to do that, you're absolutely right. From the altruistic side, you're helping people who need the help, that are obviously, you know, hustling to earn, you know, their livings and their livelihood, you know, a nickel at a time, which is no easy work. And it's got the tangential benefit, or the, you know, symbiotic benefit of bottles weigh a lot, you know, and we're paying by the pound for recycling. So you get a lot of those bottles out of what we have to ship to sanitary district number 1. It certainly helps the city. So by all means, and I'm really chiming in more to get to your parking meters question. So
Yes.
I'll take them in reverse order. The district that we are looking at is the central business district for right now. When you talk, and that is sort of inclusive of what you consider the east business district along Park Avenue, but West End is not inclusive in this because West End needs more of a sort of a holistic plan. I mean, all of Long Beach needs a holistic plan, right? But the West End, just to drop in meters there, would be disruptive to a whole bunch of other things, where the central business district along Park Avenue, you know, is not necessarily impacting residential parking or beach parking. It's its own separate animal. So that's the distinct geographic area that this is looking at. And in terms of technology, you know, we're getting comfortable with the underlying assumptions of, you know, how much you can charge for a space, what the occupancy of those spaces are throughout different parts of the day and at different times of the year, to make sure that we're right when we're putting in inputs of, if you're going to charge $1 an hour, $1 or $2, you know, over a $1 for a 2-hour period. Residents being something less than that, do residents pay anything? But regardless of what the inputs are, that you make sure the underlying assumptions are good. And then in terms of technology, again, we want the free market to come at us with the best solutions possible. So I think, you know, the goal of crafting an RFP on this is to lay out the problems and what we want the outcome to be to address the problem. But then let all of the best companies and technologies come at us with what they think the best solution is for our city, and then we can evaluate that internally.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
All right. Have a good night, Kathleen.
You.
All right. Anyone else, Dave?
Yeah, we have Joanne Rea.
Okay. Hi, Joanne.
Joanne, go ahead. Actually, I see you're in twice. I just unmuted the first. Let's try the second one. Joanne, go ahead. Hello, Joanne.
Hello?
Yep, there you are.
Okay, I just have a question for Ms. Gaden. There were a lot of questions asked tonight that I think I'm very interested in the answers to, but you're offering phone calls to those answers. So how could the rest of us hear your answers?
Which questions are you talking about? CMA, there are consultants. They've been the consultants for the city for well over a year. And our financial consultants. I think Councilmember McGinnis made that statement, who they were. there are financial consultants, and what other question was that?
There was the one with the recycling, Ms. Lester. I was interested in that. There were quite a few from Mr. Lester that I was
President, did
interested
you
in.
answer the question about the cost of the recycling?
Yes, and all his other questions.
What were the other questions?
I didn't write them down.
Okay, Roy, when Roy has questions about the budget, he breaks down which line item he's talking about. And so Roy, and he talks all the time to us. If you are welcome to call as well. So beside the one question that Roy had about a budget line item, all other questions were answered. So if you have a particular question, you can let me know what that is. And if it wasn't answered by me.
All right, I'll go back and I'll go back in the chat. I'll go back in the chat and I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Joanne?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good night. Anyone else, Dave?
That's it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and I guess we'll be seeing you in a couple of weeks. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night.